I am super excited about this topic.
Yes, habits, I would say, is your love language. Systems is your, hold on. I've got a whole freaking list of your love language, but habits is definitely up there. So I'm really excited for this because as we're planning out our businesses and as we're serving our clients and creating these relationships for life, habits is something that continually comes up, not only for you and for me and our family and the way that we're raising our kids, but what I feel like we're just doubling and tripling down, that we're teaching the same thing to our customers and our clients to build these like daily habits. And I know you have a system. There's a system for that. Hashtag there's a system for that.
One of the hardest things that we do as humans is establish habits.
True.
And we set ourselves up for failure because we have these unrealistic expectations. As we turn the calendar on a new year, what is the one habit that we all say we want to do?
Oh, we want to lose weight.
Want to lose weight, or we want to exercise. So we're going to go from 0 to now we're going to exercise and eat perfectly 7 days a week. And we're going to go and we're going to look for a quick fix, a quick tool to help us do that. And I think maybe we get in 14 days, maybe, and then we drop off. So the thing that I really want us to explore is to allow ourselves a whole heck of a lot of grace, and knowing that establishing a habit is one of the hardest things that you can do, number one. Yeah. Number two, to set you up for success, it does not matter how much you love the thing that you're doing, that habit that you have established. You're going to stop that. You're going to stop it. It's just human nature. And I think it's almost that little devil that sits on our shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to do that exercise today.
Well, what's interesting is the moment that we tell ourselves, like when you talk about human nature, the moment that we decide or we tell ourselves that we have to do something, I feel like we revert to that 3, 4, 5-year-old where it's, don't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do. And we're having that internal struggle with ourselves, right? So it's getting yourself to buy in. It's embracing the grace. And then it is like, one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time.
I think that's a great, okay, so you've opened it up. It's a brand new year. We both have a little personal case study when it comes to establishing new habits. You joined a gym.
I did.
So let's talk about it.
Okay, so I have to, before we dive into that, I called you and when I joined the gym and you were like, at least it wasn't on January 1st.
And that sounds so witchy. That sounds really witchy. I was really excited for you.
But it's funny because it's like true. It was one of those things I had decided to do. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I'll say this because we've touched on this in previous episodes. I feel like we're gonna layer the value here. When you pair habits with intentions, you become unstoppable. Because I feel like, what was it, maybe 6 months ago where we talked about the 3-day work week, and then here we are. And then I had decided I wanted to make self-care more of a priority for 2022, and that's what I did the last quarter of 2021. And to be able to support that intention, I wanted to join a gym because I wanted to swim. So it wasn't necessarily about, I've got 30 pounds left to lose because...
That's okay. I got baby weight. It's
good. I kept an extra 10 pounds for every kid. And so it was 40. So now I'm closing that gap, baby. So I'm in momentum. But self-care was really important to me. And tying that to swimming meant finding somewhere that I could go no matter what the weather was. So they had an indoor pool. It was an easy yes. But they also have a hydro massage. So it's a 1-2, right? I'm swimming, I'm moving my body, I'm building my muscles. I'm actually doing intentions that whole 20 minutes of swimming with every freaking stroke. It's powerful. Then I'm spending 15 minutes on a hydro massage. Like, where am I losing at this point?
Nowhere at all.
Yeah. The only obstacle, and I think this is where you get into what are some suggestions on how to actually keep that habit. One, it's deciding what habit you're going to incorporate, making the moves of accountability, and then really looking at how you're going to tie that habit to a certain structure in your life that you're removing the friction points. So for me, it was, I had a time frame to be able to go to the gym and do it by the time I would get back to pick up Farrah from the bus.
Perfect.
And so that's what I tied it to,
Mm-hmm.
because that was part of my daily routine already.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're just like, you're beaming.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pass it back to you, because I know I've heard you teach habits before.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just one of the things, like, set yourself up for success.
Attaching an activity, a new activity, to something that is already happening in your life, that's an accountability, and that will set you up for success. So that time frame, you have to stop work or whatever you're doing. You have to stop, because you know that you've got to pick Farrah up. And if you like swimming, if you like get high off of doing the intention during the swimming, but then if you don't leave soon enough, you can't do the hydro massage.
Exactly.
And that's like, sometimes for me, like the workout, it's after the workout in the shower with a LaCroix and a little music session. Like, that's the high part.
Yeah.
And so that keeps you in alignment with that intention and that self-care. I think, I'm just going to say, as women, when we talk about self-care, and I talk about my exercise more as movement now instead of exercise. I don't know why. I do know why, and I'll get to that in just a second. But as women, things come before us, and we're okay. We can get to the end of the day, and I'm tired. I don't want to do it.
100%.
And we haven't attached it to something. So I think, like, you're really hitting the nail on the head. I always say folks need to have their own morning routine. Never do like the 7-figure entrepreneur. And there's a reason behind that, is because we're using things that we're already doing in our life, documenting those things. And we all love to check things off of a list.
Mm-hmm.
So by checking things off that you're already doing, you're setting yourself up for success. And I call it the little productivity pop.
Yes.
And so for me, the movement journey, i.e. baby Jack is 15, still carrying around the baby weight, was I realized that, being advanced maternal age, that I wanted, if I were to get hurt, or I just wanted to be able to recoup quicker, and I really wanted to have that flexibility and movement. So we've had a Peloton now for 2 years. I talk about it a lot. It's one of my favorite things. My sister got me in touch with Hardcore on the Floor, which is literally hardcore. I mean, it just, anyway. So I had a member in one of my communities. One of her big goals for the month was to complete that calendar. And that's a big deal. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 40-minute, 3-stack workout every single day, and she did it. She was my example.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up that torch, and it wasn't easy as person. Let's start on the 1st. I think, like, I started the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you start where you're at.
And I started doing it, and I'm like, I am going to do this. And Daniel had just come home. I'm going to do this every single day. She did it. I can do it. And as women, we think that too, right?
Yeah.
Like, she does it. Oh, I know I can do it. I got this. And that's the shining example. And I got into it, and I was like, okay, got the couple of days. My accountability was the dot. So with the Peloton app, I have the dot, and it's the blue dot. So we were completing the exercises every single day. Daniel would come home. We do it together. We started walking on the days that he's not working. Then what happened was I needed to pivot, because I hurt myself. I didn't like overexert myself, but like things weren't feeling right. And so in my mind, I still wanted the blue dot. That was my accountability. And I allowed myself the grace to say, I'm not doing hardcore on the floor today. I'm going to replace that by walking, because the goal and the intention was movement.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the upper stack of that was that it was my own self-care. Because while you're doing the intentions of this thing, Daniel and I are having conversations.
Yeah.
He hasn't been home in a year. And so those are special times that we can just talk about dreams, the kids, the house, whatever we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But then too, when he's not with me and I'm doing it on my own, the intention is myself and the focus on me. And it's for my health, whether that's movement, whether that's brain space, like whatever that is.
Yeah. Okay, I love this because I want to draw a few parallels.
Okay.
Because we both talked about health, and we both talked about what the intention, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys may be, if you're following along, you're looking for these hidden processes that we discover through. So there's that decision factor in setting the intention. This is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. I have a teaching that I call decide, declare, do. Right? That's it. You get to the point where you make a decision on something and it's as good as done. because you've created that repetition and that habit of action. So there's one little process for you. But you took something that you had a health goal, you tied it to a practice, and you also created that accountability. You talk about your blue dot, I get a hydro massage. But only if things stop, I go, I do, then I get the reward. And many people are like, that checking off, that Xing off, that's so satisfying. And those were both health related. But I want to shift, and I want to show everyone who's listening, like, the power of repeating this process through, it could be connecting with your audience, it could be creating content, like we're sitting together right here. We set aside the time, like, we chose the intention, we set ourselves up, we removed the friction. We had a little bit of friction, but we removed it, but we have that level of accountability with each other where we need to get it done. So you fix your coffee every morning and you go into the community and you answer questions. That is a habit that you've incorporated for your business. So I want to talk about that a little bit so everyone can see, just once you create a successful pattern, where you can start fitting it in with other goals that you have in your life, no matter how big or how small. But you start pairing them up, you start creating accountability, but most of all, you start trusting yourself to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, and it can fit within the boundaries that you set for yourself, because we've talked about this in previous episodes, a 3-day work week. And so what she's talking about is my morning routine. And my morning routine is getting up and making the black coffee, the tar that I make, that Daniel can no longer drink. Cassie Brown can.
Take it.
She can. It would be, we walk the dogs together, and I make my coffee, I make his lunch, and now he leaves, and I sit down and I relax with my coffee. But I do go into a community, and we talk about this all the time, and you're like, what does this look like? How does it feel? I literally, there's one particular community, I go in, I go recent activity, and I will start reading the post. And I simply go in and answer questions. Now, let me talk a little bit about what the mind trash in between my ears, what was going on in some instances as I start. Okay, I'm going to do this. And
Wait, so you created a habit of overcoming mind trash on top of all, like, this is Inception here.
But one of the things, and just like walking yourself off the ledge here, is so I go into the community, I'm excited, recent activity, and I start answering questions. And the first few days, it's like 10 minutes. And I'm like, am I answering too many questions? Mind trash. And then I check myself. Am I promoting myself, or am I serving this community? I'm answering questions. I'm not promoting myself at all, my programs, my services, nothing. And so then quickly, like 10 minutes, then turns into 15 minutes, which turns into 30 minutes, which I'm like, I'm good. I feel good. And it's almost like in doing that, I'm like, I feel really good doing this. So not only is it part of my morning routine, but I don't know, going in 19 years of my business and running a business, as being an entrepreneur, as being a wife, a mom, a 4, like all of those things that go into that, I feel really good about what I just did.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we need to add another episode into our list here. That is the habit of fulfillment.
Ooh, yeah.
I'll just open that loop and set it up there on that shelf for us to come back to, because I want to not only begin to bring this episode to a close, but also, again, to lay the foundation for whatever it looks like, whatever you decide, what that habit should be, whether it is spending more time with self-care, whether it is spending more time with your husband, your kids, spending a specific activity in your business. Really sit down and evaluate where you're having friction versus where you really want to go. And that usually helps us zero in on focus on, okay, this is something that I really, let's have this honest talk, right? If it's been something that you've been saying you want to do for some time, then there needs to be a real soul-centered conversation with yourself. How am I creating friction, or what am I allowing in my life to stay more important than accomplishing X, Y, and Z?
And 2, I'm just going to slide in there something, and we'll open loop. This is, and we've called it sticky note secrets. One of the biggest things I talk about, establishing habits are one of the hardest things to do, whether it's business or life. But part of one of our downfalls as humans is that we keep it between our ears.
Yes.
And part of my sticky note process is the visualization of the thing that I'm thinking about. I think that a part of that process is thinking about it, but more importantly, after we think about it, it almost gets to a point with a habit where we almost reach rock bottom, that something has to change. And to visualize that, it is a simple process of putting one thing on a sticky note and looking at all of it.
Right.
And because we've thought about it long enough, and now we see it, we can see a pattern and a flow to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, I love that because it comes to getting it out of your head. So like we're encouraging everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Notice, think,
do.
and do, but it's like becoming aware of it and acknowledging it. Talk to a friend. Like I called you. I'm like, hey, I'm going to join a gym. There's a level of accountability when I just didn't keep it and I communicated it.
Mm-hmm.
And communication can be verbal. Communication can be written down. Those promises that you make to yourself are powerful, but like sharing it with another person, it adds a level of accountability. And then tying it to a daily habit, a routine, or something that you're already doing. What do? Like we typically have our coffee in the morning. Our kids leave for school the same
Mm-hmm.
time every day. We brush our teeth at night. We stop and we eat lunch. So look for those natural breaks in your day for me, and what are already natural boundaries for you during the day. Mm-hmm. And then another thing, again, adding to what you said, set yourself up for success and failure. Like grace, right? Know that it's not going to be perfect. Know that there's going to be that mind trash. So what are your defenses? What are your lines of defense against this stuff? And know, like, some days you may fall short. So what does that grace look like? What does that makeup look like? And then I think it's one of those things where, is this a daily practice? Are you committing to 20 minutes a day? Are you committing to an hour a week? Are you committing to twice a month? What does that look like? How are you measuring it? But the biggest thing is with habits, for me, was changing the outlook of it is how can I incorporate this into my lifestyle?
Yes.
Instead of, okay, I'm done and dusted in 30 days and I never have to do this again. Like, to me, that's something different.
Mm-hmm.
And a habit is something I want to carry forward with me as a practice.
Yeah, so the joke of carrying around the baby weight 15 years later, the idea is movement. And I'm going to exercise, I'm going to be making more healthy food choices, and the byproduct of all of that is ultimately I will lose weight. Mm-hmm. But the goal going in, I am not setting myself up for failure. I want to lose 20 pounds by March 31st. It was simply the goal for the blue dot. Mm-hmm. It was the simple intention. It was the example that was shown to me. So hopefully we're being examples to folks that will encourage and inspire. That's why we do the podcast. I don't typically let grass grow under my feet too long. I'm like, I'm done. I'm doing it. I think I had hit rock bottom, and that was the inspiration at the time that I needed. And I did it. And I just want other people to know that you are examples for others. You don't realize your power. And I'll just give her a shout out. Eileen, when she posted in the community, she goes, I know this isn't business related. And this is for me, my one big goal is to finish hardcore on the floor every day. I knew how big that was. Mm-hmm. And look how she not just inspired me, but also Daniel. Because he knew what a big accomplishment that was. He goes, wow, that's big. And that movement has two people. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now we're talking about it. You have your movement, your swimming,
I have my
and
swimming.
who knows who we're inspiring now, but it starts just with, oh my goodness, optimization goes through conversation.
Yes, and it opens up another door. I feel like there's been 3 open doors. We're gonna talk about Impact 1 here coming up in a future episode. But this is one of those things where I want to tie it back on. I'll play devil's advocate for a minute here as we come to a close. Is what the heck does all of this have to do with business, Rhonda, and customers for life? And for me, what it comes down to is what Rhonda just shared. It's inspiration and impact. It's not just about making a sale. It's not just about a revenue goal. It is about being fulfilled with who you are and what you do in every aspect of your life. And when you create and you cultivate that type of soul and that kind of spirit, it's magnetizing to people who they want a life like that. They want to be fulfilled. They want to share and spread joy. When you look at someone and you just have two plain products sitting on the shelf, and they are outside of everything else identical, but one aligns with your values, one is so joy-filled, fulfilled, and impact-driven, which one are you going to choose? Like, you're going to choose the one that is committed to not only solving a problem, but impacting and lighting up the world to make it a better place in some way, shape, or form. And I think for me, this is what Clients for Life is all about, is that human connection that extends past our products and our services, and habits are a part of that, because healthy habits create not only profitable and healthy businesses, but who runs these profitable and healthy businesses? Humans, people.
Oh goodness, I am choosing Cassie Brown like every single time. And I just have to say, so here are some intentions, or here are some questions to ask yourself. These are the questions that I went before Cassie and I decided to work together. We would do things and we would hop off calls, and literally I could count down, either she called or I called, and we would say to each other, was that not so good? And I'm like, I know, I feel so good, I'm on fire, what else can we do? Like right now I'm feeling that after this conversation, it just lights you up, it fulfills you, it fulfills your soul, it makes you happy. Those are the things that you want to run to. And I also just, the question that I've said, like we've had trips and I will look at her and I will say, could it be that easy? This is the question that I know that's going to come up for folks. Wait, is it really just that easy? And I will answer it both yes and no. Yes is the intention and the decision that you are making now. No, because there's been a whole lot of journey getting to that point. Let's just say you've hit rock bottom in such a good way, and the intention is to choose simple.
This has been so much fun and a real treat, because we're usually together on Zoom, and I told Rhonda, I'm like, I haven't even looked at the camera once, like I've been watching you the whole time. And I know those of you who are listening, you may not get to see that part of it, but we are actually in the space recording this, and there's incredible energy when you work with and you attract people who are like-minded. And I think that's another thing, is just, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity, not only to work with Rhonda, but what we're creating. We sat down, and when you talk about habits, we've created a habit of publishing, we've created a habit of content, we've created a habit of impact, obviously. We've created a habit of fun and simplification. There's one of those things where it's like, I don't ever see what we're working on and feel like I have to do anything. It's I get to do this to create the impact and the lifestyle that we want. And I'm just breaking this all down in different ways for those of you who are listening, just so that you can see how powerful habits can be, and how powerful the intention just to create that habit is. So that's what I would encourage you to do today, is if there is something that you want to create, and I'm willing to bet there is, because we all have different seasons in our life, but we want to create something, whether it's more time, more space, more profit, more fulfillment, more self-care, whatever it is. Find out and identify what it is, and then start with creating the intention, and then choosing the habits that you're going to use to stack and build around creating that success for you day in and day out.
That's perfect. That's beautiful, Cassie Brown. It's music to my ears. I am so thankful for you.
I'm thankful for you. And thank you for everyone who's listening, everyone who is traveling down this road with us. I'm not only committed to be better to yourself, but to be better to yourself and better in order to create something better in the world. So thank you for traveling this journey with us to pour in not only to yourselves but into others and create customers for life.